Hello and welcome, everybody, to another episode, a Week 3 Cincinnati Bengals AFC Hot Kitchen episode of All Steelers Talk. We're your host, Noah Strackbine, joined always by the lovely Donnie Drewn. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at All Steelers Talk. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at All Steelers. And as always, follow your favorite podcast hosts at Noah Strack, at Donnie Drewn. Donnie, it's Week 3. Steelers are 1-1, a very upsetting loss at home to the Las Vegas Raiders, but a return to Heinz Field against the Cincinnati Bengals, also 1-1, a red-hot AFC North kitchen, as Mike Tomlin would say. What are your first thoughts on the game? What are your first thoughts on the injuries?
Yeah, man, and with a week like Bengals week, a week that's usually filled with a lot of trash talk and hate towards the opposing team, I feel like we've been so caught up in trying to figure out if our own guys are going to play. There's been really no time to focus on the Bengals and, hating everything at Cincinnati. Chili dogs with a bunch of cheddar cheese on top of it. It's not a chili dog. That's not how you make chili. You don't have noodles and chili. Get out of here with that.
What? Did you just say noodles and chili?
Yeah. They put noodles and chili over there.
You don't eat that? What kind of chili? You just eat chili?
Yeah, bro. It's regular chili. Yeah.
You don't even put cheese on the top of it.
Yeah, some cheese, yeah. But, bro, have you seen, the Skyline chili dogs that they have?
No. Do you think I pay attention to hot dogs when I'm in Cincinnati?
Chili dogs, bro. Chili dogs, not hot dogs. Get it right.
Alrighty. I don't know. I always feel like I put cheese on my chili dogs. Is that not a thing? And also, they're called Texas wieners.
Bro, how do you know more about this than I do, man? You just said a second ago that you didn't know anything about chili dogs. Now you know the textbook name of them, bro? A
chili dog is called a Texas. I don't know. Maybe they're different, but a chili dog to me is a Texas wiener.
Bro, I've literally never heard it called that before.
All right. That's a Scranton thing, I guess. Maybe it's a Pennsylvania thing. You're out west. You don't even count, bro. Keep going. Cincinnati Bengals.
No time to hate on the Bengals. The Steelers have a plethora of injuries to worry about themselves before we can even think about what to like and not like about the Bengals heading to Week 3. And this is a very important game. It's the first divisional home game in the AFC North. And it's really important because the Steelers don't necessarily want to get off to a 1-2 start like a lot of people think they might be walking into. I've heard the term trap game thrown around recently. There's no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. And we'll touch on this a little bit later in the episode, but you cannot play down to your competition because everybody in the NFL is good and they're good for a reason. They're in the league for a reason. You cannot play down to them. You cannot assume you're just going to win. And, the injuries this week, you're getting a couple guys back, but for the most part, a lot of the losses that we have are certainly big.
Yeah, definitely. I think the injuries are ginormous. I agree. I feel like I've spent the whole week talking about Trey Turner spitting on a dude. TJ Watt, is he playing? Is he not playing? Ben's left tit, and no time talking about Mike Hilton, Joe Burrow, leading rusher, Joe Mixon, or the rest of the Cincinnati Bengals. But that's all right because it's Friday. I love Fridays. I also love when we get to talk about the opponent. It's a big game, and I agree. I think that you can never overlook the Cincinnati Bengals. Even in the last recent years, the Cincinnati Bengals have had the Steelers number at least once a season in very upsetting games that should not have been anywhere near close. I mean, Mason Rudolph was one of those. I totally get that one. But even last year and the year before that, the Cincinnati Bengals have never been an easy challenge for the Steelers after being an easy challenge for the Steelers for so long. And a lot of it will have to do, I don't know did you hear this dog?
No.
Neighbor's dog's going nuts.
No,
right?
We're cool.
Yeah. Neighbor's dog loves this. All Steelers Talk, hashtag All Steelers Talk. That's what he's barking out here. It starts with the injuries, and that's what we keep highlighting it. And the biggest injury, I think, even on top of Ben Roethlisberger, is TJ Watt. We saw what the defense turned into without our TJ Watt on the field in Week 2 against the Raiders. This week, he's questionable heading into the game. What's the side if he plays? How good is this defense? If he doesn't play, how big of a loss is this defense?
Look, we could talk about the depth at outside linebacker, and we could talk about how great Melvin Ingram is, and he's indeed a very good football player. But I think both of us would rather have a minimum 70% TJ Watt out there as opposed to a 100% almost every other player in the NFL. I mean, just the impact the guy has week in and week out, healthy or not. I mean, if you're playing in the NFL, you're going to have bumps and bruises and nicks along the way. It's kind of how it is. It's kind of part of the business. So if TJ Watt is, fully capable to get out there on the field, he absolutely needs to, because like you said a little bit earlier, this defense is night and day without him. And his presence alone just helps so much with everybody else in terms of doing their job and, getting those coveted one-on-one matchups in the front seven. And at worst, TJ Watt will be a distraction for the right side of the offensive line. And hopefully he'll catch a couple of double teams, and maybe his presence will free up some guys in the secondary, to get maybe a second more of time to get back into coverage after perhaps being beat by somebody or just trying to get in line. TJ Watt, his impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. And I think we saw a little bit of that last week whenever he was out.
Yeah, I agree. And especially without Alex Highsmith in the game, TJ Watt's presence is absolutely huge. Melvin Ingram, like you said, I think Melvin Ingram is full form right now. And I love what I'm seeing from him. I think he looks like a Pro Bowl veteran who's playing very comfortably as that third guy, but like not even a real third guy, just like a sixth man right off the bench, plays a high amount of snaps, kind of gives them that extra step. I think those two will be fine. Where I'm a little worried about, and people don't seem to be too worried about it, is that Jameer Jones is going to have to play a role in this game. TJ Watt never plays 100% of the snaps. Melvin Ingram can't play 100% of the snaps, especially if TJ is playing with a pulled groin. Jameer Jones did not look good. He looked small. He looked, I don't want to say slow, but he just looked a little lost out there on an island in week 2. What do you expect from Jameer Jones? Because I think a little bit of that is going to be a decrease in talent, maybe a decrease in focus for the offense when it comes to Jones being on one side of the line or the other.
Yeah, I think without TJ Watt and you slide Jameer and Jones in there, I think that'll allow offensive lines specifically to kind of focus a little bit more on guys like Cam Hayward on the inside. You don't have to dictate as much help and as much coverage to the outside linebacker spot, because Jameer Jones, to be real, doesn't exactly strike fear in anybody's hearts. There's a reason he's a little bit buried in that depth chart there in Pittsburgh. But, like I said, let's say TJ Watt was playing, the Bengals might be more enticed to maybe put a tight end, right next to the tackle to keep an extra blocker in there. Now, Jameer Jones, I'm not necessarily worried about him. Maybe I do go with a couple more 4 receiver sets that, will create a little bit more of a mismatch whenever it comes to receivers on, corners or linebackers or safeties or whatever it might be. So the whole game planning aspect of it really is affected by TJ Watt, whether or not people really believe it or not. But what I expect out of Jameer Jones, not a whole lot. I mean, we haven't seen too much out of him to begin with. So I feel like it's unfair, to place a lot of expectations on a guy who, one, we haven't seen, and two, probably shouldn't have a lot of expectations placed on him. And, just going into this game, I mean, it's kind of like we get what we get because we have to play him, right? Like we don't really have a whole lot of other options. So whatever the output is of Jameer Jones, we'll have to kind of take it and move forward with it.
Yeah, definitely. And still, like in years past when it was Bud Dupree and TJ Watt with Alex Highsmith coming in or Anthony Chickillo coming in, you saw that drop off. They still survived. I think TJ plays a good amount of snaps if he's healthy. He left the door open. So here's the final question before we move on to the big Ben Roethlisberger without his favorite weapon. Does TJ Watt play on Sunday? What do you think?
I think he does. Yeah. I certainly think if he does, he'll be on a snap count though, unless he's feeling really, really good on Sunday morning, but I'm not exactly sure he will be. But I mean, it's 48 hours, a lot can change from Friday to Sunday morning. So you never really know. But at the moment, yeah, I fully expect TJ Watt to play. It's a very valuable AFC North game. The Steelers need all the help they can get. Every game matters in the NFL. And so, if you can go in the NFL, you absolutely should play on the field.
Yeah, I agree. And without being able to tell you, but kind of telling you, I do expect TJ Watt to play. I think that TJ Watt gave it a good go at practice this week, and I think that he feels he did enough to see the field on Sunday, at least to some capacity. Like you said, maybe he's on a snap count. That's okay. That's still TJ Watt on the field. Who else is going to be on the field is Benjamin Roethlisberger, who is healthy. He's got a pec injury, but he was not listed as questionable, wasn't even listed on the injury report at all. He was a full participant in Friday's practice after being limited on Thursday and missing Wednesday, a normal week for Big Ben outside of a limited practice Thursday. Is Big Ben, can you play quarterback and be as effective at 39 with a torn pec in the NFL, especially when you're getting hit?
I mean, if there's any quarterback that can go out and do it, it's Ben Roethlisberger, right? I mean, this dude is literally Iron Man. He has played through almost every single injury I can think of off the top of my head somehow, some way, he's managed to, take a couple of snaps under center, and still deliver passes to receivers, regardless of, what was hurting him. So no, I don't think a pectoral injury is going to hold him back. I did expect him to play after seeing him come off the injury report after not even being listed as questionable, like you had said. It's Ben Roethlisberger, man. I mean, sure, a lot of people like to think that he kind of blows everything out of proportion whenever he gets hurt. He kind of likes to play the dramatic role a little bit. But at the end of the day, my man's still going to play. So, and, great comment by our boy Nick right there in the chat. Big Ben is the Big Ben unless he's playing injured. That is the most Steelers thing I could think of. So, phenomenal comment there.
Exactly. This Pittsburgh Steelers season doesn't even start until Benjamin has an injury. Big Ben is hurt. The Steelers are now playing football, and it's a good time. I think Ben's going to come out here, and everybody's been saying it all week. Ben's going to come out here and throw 400 yards. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because somehow, some way, Ben really does play the best when he's hurt. I also fully expect the offensive line to have a better week. I get that there's no reason to say that whatsoever, but just talking to the guys, I feel like prior to this, it was just like, hey, man, how are you guys going to gel? How is the gelling going? Are you guys taking steps forward? Now it's like, dude, you guys didn't pick your quarterback up. Everybody saw it. What do you think of this? Was it addressed? How often was it addressed? How pissed off are you guys about not picking him up, letting him get hit 10 times? He's 39 years old. This is his 17th year in the NFL, and he's getting hit 10 times in a row. Not good. Not a good publicity week for the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, and I think they're going to feel that. I think they're going to come in a little bit hungry, so I would expect Ben and that offense to actually have a pretty good game. Deontay Johnson will not play, though, and I think that is a major loss because I still don't have full faith in Chase Claypool. I think Chase Claypool is a little iffy, has a little bit of a drop problem. Maybe I'm speaking too early, but I think he's got a little bit of a drop problem. And Juju Smith-Schuster is Juju Smith-Schuster. I trust him. I always will trust him. But without Deontay, I mean, it's Juju in the middle. Chase and James, both a little unproven guys, and then a good old Ray McLeod. I don't know how I'm feeling about that one.
Yeah, and a lot of what Matt Canada, would probably like to run in this game may have just gone out the window because without Deontay Johnson, game plan changes. The game plan changes. Without Juju, I mean, it would certainly change. Without Chase Claypool, it's kind of still the same thing. Without James Washington or obviously Ray McLeod, doesn't really change all that much, but not having your best route runner in the game limits a lot of what you can do on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, the top three receivers in this game are going to be Juju, who playing on the outside hasn't really shown the ability to run routes good enough to create separation based off of like speed. Chase Claypool, who is basically hey, throw it 40 yards down the field and let's see if he can come down with it or get a flag kind of dude. And then James Washington, who is kind of the same thing, although I feel like James Washington is much better at this point in his career at high pointing the football and coming down with it than Chase Claypool, because we've seen James Washington make crazy acrobatic catches, like in the end zone or like down the field. But whenever you're asking James Washington to run like a 3-yard slant to burn somebody like that, if you're asking them to run a comeback route to the sideline or anything else dizzying that Deontay Johnson has done, no, he can't. Neither can Claypool. And, at this point, neither can Juju unless he's really doing it out of a side against like a linebacker or a safety. But it sucks, man. 22 targets for the first 2 weeks for Deontay Johnson. Obviously, he's Big Ben's favorite target. I think he reminds Ben of a other certain receiver that used to play in Pittsburgh that is no longer here. It's just purely based off of the route running and the talent tree that this dude can potentially have in the ceiling that he may hit. But, yeah, not having his best buddy out there, it may hurt him.
I think it does. And I think that the Steelers wide receiver core just gets so big without Deontay. It's all kind of the same guy, and that's not really what – I mean, Ben likes that, and Ben loves to throw the ball deep, whether anybody wants to say that he can or he can't. He loves to throw the ball deep. He also loves to throw it to Juju in the middle, so he'll still have that option, but there's really no intermediate. Like you said, there's no middle ground there to give his playmaker a chance to make a play, which he loves to do. I think the Deontay loss is very, very significant, especially because James Washington really has zero playing time. He has no in-game connection with Ben Roethlisberger so far. Chase, like we keep talking about, is very hit or miss, and I think he's going to stay hit or miss. It's going to be a Juju show. If you got Juju on your fantasy football team, it's a great week to toss him in that starting lineup. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're kind of lucky that the Steelers are playing the Bengals, who are a little beat up, who have a defense. You know, they could escape with a couple of these things, but like I said, it's not looking good. Joe Hayden and Devin Bush are back. That's huge for the defense. But we talked a lot about injuries. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're going to start with good old Najee Harris here because I love Najee Harris, man. It doesn't want to come up. There it is. There it is.
He was told about their former teammate Mike Hilton and how often he's up around the box. Maybe he's a slot runner for the middle, flat in the fence.
Burrow, they talk about him a lot, but I wonder why they knew so much about him. I didn't know he played here. But yeah, they talk about him a lot. I didn't know that. That makes sense to me.
Najee, have you heard from a lot of people about the stiff arm?
I absolutely love Najee Harris. I love every time. Now, let me tell you, Najee Harris is the guy that you're interviewing him for 10 minutes and there's no question answer type response. That doesn't happen. It's just like you start to talk and Najee starts to just talk with you. And then it's just like 4 or 5 back and forths. Nothing gets answered. There's no usable quotes whatsoever, but there is fantastic video to put on Twitter. I apologize that I just didn't know what was going on there. StreamYard got weird. It got real weird for a second. He did talk about Mike Hilton. Everybody's been talking about Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton is really the only guy the Pittsburgh Steelers care about, but they do have a lot of names on defense. They have the NFL's leading rusher, like I said, in Joe Mixon, a second-year guy in Joe Burrow, who's coming off an ACL injury, but looks fantastic. What are your first impressions of the Cincinnati Bengals? Is there anything that the Steelers should worry about?
If T. Higgins was playing this game, I'd be a little bit worried, but he looks doubtful at this moment, so a very good sign for the Steelers. Obviously, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, and I hope he is healthy soon. But, if he misses the game on Sunday, I'm not exactly complaining just because of how talented he is. I've been a very big fan of Joe Burrow ever since he came through the draft process, and I was really disappointed that he went number 1 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I thought in his first year last year, he made a lot of good things happen. Granted, there's some bumps on the road that every rookie quarterback is going to experience. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. Peyton Manning led the entire league in interceptions his rookie year. He actually set the all-time single-season record for interceptions in 1 year, his rookie season. And look what that dude turned out to be. And obviously, that's a very high bar for a guy like Joe Burrow to reach. But Joe Burrow can definitely reach those heights. And he's got weapons around him. He's got Joe Mixon, like you pointed out, the NFL's leading rusher up until this point. He's got guys like, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd around him. And granted, he won't have Higgins there on Sunday with him. But you know what? Jamar Chase has looked pretty decent. Obviously, Tyler Boyd, every Pitt fan knows what Tyler Boyd can do with the football in his hands. And every Steelers fan knows what Tyler Boyd can do because he's carved the Steelers secondary up a time or two, if I do remember correctly. So I think it all hinges on, how the Bengals offensive line holds up. And I think that's where a guy like TJ Watt's talents can really go put the use. Because if you give Joe Burrow time, he's going to make you pay more times than not. Although I was looking at the numbers a little bit earlier, and the Bengals passing attack does rank near the bottom of the league. So, not exactly losing sleep every night and day up until the Bengals game whenever it comes to Joe Burrow and the passing offense for Cincinnati.
I do agree. I think that, but I also want to say that I think Joe Burrow and that passing attack is the only way that the Cincinnati Bengals win this game against Pittsburgh Steelers, because we were looking at the numbers beforehand, and Joe Mixon, man, just is not what everybody wants to make Joe Mixon out to be. I think he's a phenomenal all-around running back. He could block very well. He could catch the ball out of the backfield. He's obviously a great rusher. But his numbers this season, he had a great first game. He had 127 yards, averaged a little bit over 4 yards a carry, a touchdown. It was nice. Second game, pure Najee Harris, terrible offensive line numbers. It was like 20 rushes, 69 yards. That's not going to get the job done. That's not going to get the job done against the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially not against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. You rush the ball 20 times against the Steelers defense, average 3 yards. That's down to 2.5. Easy. Even without Tyson Alualu. It's a recipe for disaster for the running game, and I think that's gonna show very quickly. I don't think that the Steelers are going to have much trouble with him. I do expect Tyler Boyd in that offense to be pretty good, though, as they usually are. Do you expect Mike Hilton to meet Ben Roethlisberger in the backfield this weekend? That is the big question.
Yeah,
yes?
dude, absolutely. How can you watch the Steelers' offensive line played the last 2 weeks and tell me that there's not a chance of that happening. I mean,
whoa, hold up.
No. I'm not.
It's not going to
I'm
be a
put words in
tackle.
your mouth.
It's not going to be a tackle. It's not going to be a tackle that blocks him. It's going to be good old Eric Ebron out there stopping.
Oh no!
Mike Hilton.
That completely changes my mind. Absolutely not, bro. Bro, if it's Ebron on Hilton the entire game, pencil Hilton in for 3 sacks, bro. If it's going to be Ebron on him,
Patty Fryermuth. Maybe this is the weekend Derek Watt gets a snap at tackle. Or
I like those options better. I do like those options better. I would much rather have Fryermuth or Derek Watt in there, at least trying to put a body on Mike Hilton coming off of the edge in the slot. But I mean, if the Bengals want to get creative and send Mike Hilton through either one of those 5 guys up front for the Steelers, then
yeah, he's me as a quarterback. He's me.
Yeah, I need to find a prop bet online where I can bet on Mike Hilton getting a sack this game, because it's absolutely going to happen, and he's going to do it, and he's going to do something. And all the Steelers fans who wished him luck in Cincinnati and still have his jersey are going to hate that man the second that he does.
I think I agree. I think they already do hate Mike Hilton for zero reason whatsoever. But Mike Hilton, let me tell you, it has allowed 8 catches on 9 passes. So clearly not the coverage cornerback that the Cincinnati Bengals thought they were getting.
I think Juju got a decent size advantage over him too. So, I mean.
What? You thinking, what? Juju's like what? 6? Mike Hilton's got to be at least 6'2.5". Maybe 5'8", but really 6'2". I think Mike Hilton easily gets to Ben Roethlisberger. But here's the thing. I think that he rushes all the time. I also think Najee Harris at least puts him out of his butt one time. At least once. And I would go prop bet, sack, Mike Hilton, pancake, Najee Harris. That'd be a good.
Bro, if we can get another Najee stiff arm like we saw last week, but
Najee stiff arms, Mike Hilton. Oh,
bro,
Pittsburgh's
imagine the
t-shirts. Nuts.
Imagine the shirts, the posters, the Twitter backgrounds, man.
There's a shop on Wood Street in downtown Pittsburgh that would have a t-shirt before the end of the game. Easy. Easy. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure they had the Juju t-shirt before the end of the game. Like when Juju hit Vontaze Burfict, I'm pretty sure that t-shirt was printed before the game ended. That would happen if Najee stiff arms Mike Hilton. It's all over. I'd feel terrible. I like Mike Hilton. He's a good guy. He's a great player. He's a good guy, but I would agree. I think that he's getting stiff-armed. I think Najee's putting him on the butt once. I think he's putting Ben on his butt at least once. Let's go to the betting odds. Steelers, 3-point favorites at Heinz Field, Week 3. A red hot 1-1 AFC North kitchen. Are you taking it? Good old SI Sportsbook tossing us -3 on the Steelers.
Shout to SI Sportsbook. First and foremost, go there to place all your bets and all that good stuff. -3 at home. The old betting rule used to be that if you play at home, you automatically get 3 points, and then they kind of adjust the odds from there. That line has kind of moved to like 1.5 to 2 points. So the Steelers are still favored in this game, but not by a whole ton. I mean, if this game was in Cincinnati, you're kind of looking at smaller odds. But you know what? It's not. Steelers are in Pittsburgh, Heinz Field, terrible towels. Renegade for everybody who loves it, for who hates it. It's going to be played there. I think it all boils down to TJ Watt. I think if TJ Watt plays a significant amount of snaps, I really like Pittsburgh's chances of making the Bengals a one-dimensional offense, and 2, being able to get after the quarterback with guys like Hayward, Watt and Ingram up front in the front 7. And obviously you got Devin Bush back, which is also phenomenal. And Joe Hayden, I mean, Steelers missed Joe Hayden more than we could ever know last week, and nobody's really been talking about that. And granted, the dude's over 30. He's probably not going to get a new contract in Pittsburgh after following year. But purely based on the season, Joe Hayden's been pretty solid for the Steelers. Cornerback 1, obviously. TJ Watt plays. I am absolutely taking the Steelers -3.
This is 2 weeks in a row that you're tossing ifs out there, okay? This is not horseshoes or hand grenades, okay? We're playing sports betting on the SI Sportsbook. Steelers, 3-point favorites. I'm hammering it down. Throw everything you got.
Hammer.
3 point. Look at Joe Burrow. I got a lot of faith in Joe Burrow. Like I just said, I'm not real high on Joe Mixon, although I am high on Joe Mixon as a running back, not really a running back in Cincinnati. TJ Watt, I fully expect to play, and I expect to play well. Joe Hayden and Devin Bush are healthy. That's a game changer. Steelers secondary is totally back to what it was. I have full faith in Melvin Ingram. Ben's playing. I don't expect the offense to play real well, but I do expect Najee Harris to get a little bit better week by week. I just don't see how the Bengals keep it close enough to keep it within 3. I'm putting everything on it. Steelers 3. I think the Steelers win by a touchdown, but at bare minimum 4 points, and I think that's an easy bet.
Hold on. Are you able to tell me without telling me that Watt's going to play on Sunday?
No, I can't say that, but he said the door's
No,
open.
you said earlier to the great people listening to the show that you were able but not able to say that TJ Watt looked like he was going to play on Sunday.
TJ Watt sounds and looks as if he's going to play. He sounds like he's leaving the door open.
Okay. You know what? I got to solidify Steelers -3. I'll take it.
His exact words were, how open is the door? Is it cracked? Is it wide open? It's open. That's all I need to know. TJ Watt could walk through any door, whether it was closed, hammered, shut. I don't care. But the fact that it's cracked open means TJ Watt's playing. That's what I'm taking that as.
I'll take it. Steelers -3.
Steelers -3. Hammer it down. Throw everything you got on it. Over under 43. I never trust the 43, but what are you thinking?
Under. I'm taking the under. If both offenses were completely healthy, I really would entertain this over-under. I mean, but we're banking on both teams to hit 22 points. I'm not sure that hopefully the Steelers hit 22 points. I know for sure the Bengals aren't hitting 22 points. And from there, you're kind of banking on the Steelers offense having themselves a very nice day. And that's just something that we haven't seen in the first 2 games. Home or away, I don't know if I would have taken the over on this anywhere they played this game.
I agree. No way. I think that there's a just as big of a possibility that somebody scores 22 points as the game. I think there's a bigger possibility that this game ends 10-3. Like, I would really not be surprised if the final score of this game is 10 to under 10. Steelers still win by at least 4. 10-6 would be actually a very easy score to predict in this game because I don't expect either offense to do absolutely anything. It's going to be a defensive battle. And unless Minka takes one to the house, I don't see it happening. I'm betting under. I'm not even taking the chance on that. Hammering it down on 3, under on 43, parlay it. Steelers are averaging 16.5 offensive points a game. Got to go under. Thank you, Steelers Freak. Always appreciate you. Donnie, before we head out here, game predictions. It's Friday. Steelers, Bengals, red hot, AFC North kitchen. What do you got?
It's Friday. We got to get down on Friday. You feel a shout out to Rebecca Black. Last week I came on the show and I'm like, you know what? Steelers over the Raiders. I'm 0 for 2 so far on predictions. I thought the Bills are going to beat the Steelers week 1. I thought the Steelers are going to beat the Raiders week 2. So I'm 0 for 2 so far. I really need game number 3 to get my confidence back up, to get the people's confidence in the hashtag AllSteelers talk back up. I got to take the Steelers. Got to take the Steelers at home. I don't think a Mike Tomlin coached team, no matter who's in or who's out, is going to lose 2 games in a row, let alone to the Raiders and the Bengals back-to-back home games. I'm not buying it. If so, we got to have a lot of conversations and a lot of topic of discussions, which we will talk about next week on AllSteelers talk following the game. But Sunday coming up 2 days from now. TJ Watt playing. I feel really good about this game. T. Higgins not playing. Feel a little bit better about this game. Give me the Steelers. I say probably a final score. Give me like 17-10. I'll go 17-10.
I like 17-10. I think the Steelers easily walk away with this one. I don't think their offense puts up a lot of points, but it's going to be a rowdy house in Heinz Field, and I could see the defense taking one home. I'm saying TJ gets not 1, but 2 sacks again. 2 sacks. That will put him at 5 sacks for the season, 3 games into the year. 2 sacks on TJ Watt. Steelers walk away 17. I want to do it. I really want to do it. I'm going to go 17-9. 2-1 Pittsburgh Steelers, red hot AFC North kitchen. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at All Steelers Talk. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at All Steelers. And as always, subscribe to your favorite podcast host at Noah Strack, at Donnie Droon, and we will see you next week.